Have you ever caught yourself wondering, why do I feel so clean, but something still smells off? You shower, you wash your clothes, you keep your home spotless. And yet, there's this whisper of discomfort, this quiet sense that something isn't quite right. You're not alone. And more importantly, you're not doing anything wrong. Hi, I'm Dr. James. Welcome to Senior Mental Health, where we talk honestly about the things no one else does, especially the things that affect your confidence, your health, and your peace of mind as you age. Today, I'm going to uncover 8 seemingly small bathroom habits that might be quietly working against you. They're the kinds of things most women never think twice about. But as a physician who has spent over 3 decades listening to, treating, and learning from women just like you, I can tell you this. These little habits, they matter profoundly. So whether you're here out of curiosity or because you've struggled with recurring irritation, odor, or discomfort, stay with me. You deserve to feel clean, confident, and in control every single day. And in the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly how to make that happen. Let's begin. Let me begin with a vivid image. Imagine a woman, graceful and elegant, always put together, known for her impeccable hygiene. That was Judith. She was 71, still wore pressed linen dresses. Her gray hair always swept into a bun. And she had the comforting scent of lavender that reminded you of garden afternoons and fresh laundry. But when Judith walked into my office, something was different. Her demeanor wasn't as confident. She leaned closer and whispered with embarrassment, "Doc, I think I smell strange." She had been experiencing irritation and a faint odor she couldn't place. Despite her best efforts, daily showers, multiple hygiene products, it only got worse. As I asked about her routine, she rattled off a list: rose-scented intimate wash, a refreshing, feminine wipe, a powder that promised all-day protection. On the surface, this sounded like someone who cared about her body. But as a doctor, I knew she had unknowingly declared war on her vaginal microbiome. The vaginal environment is a brilliant ecosystem. It's designed with precision, operating like a self-balancing scale. The pH stays between 3.8 and 4.5. Thanks to helpful bacteria called lactobacilli. These bacteria produce lactic acid, hydrogen peroxide, and bacteriocins, substances that keep yeast and harmful bacteria at bay. They don't just defend against infections, they regulate moisture, prevent odor, and maintain immune health. When Judith used those products daily, especially ones filled with fragrance and alcohol, she stripped away those defenders. Her skin's acid mantle, the protective layer, became destabilized. That left room for anaerobic bacteria to grow unchecked. The results? Discomfort, vaginal discharge, and ironically, the very odor she was trying to eliminate. This is not uncommon. In fact, in postmenopausal women, the vaginal lining becomes thinner due to declining estrogen, and the microbial balance becomes even more delicate. That makes the area more susceptible to irritants and more reliant on natural protective mechanisms. Disrupting those systems doesn't clean, it harms. I gave Judith a new prescription, not a pill or cream, but a new mindset. Stop washing internally. Clean only the vulva, the outer skin, with warm water. If she absolutely wanted a cleanser, it had to be free from fragrances, sulfates, and alcohol. Use it sparingly, once or twice a week at most. Ditch the wipes and powder altogether. Think about it. We'd never scrub the inside of our eyes, or our lungs, or our ears with harsh chemicals. So why do we do it to our vaginas, which are just as self-regulating? Judith, at first, was skeptical. She feared she'd smell worse. But 2 weeks later, she returned. Her eyes sparkled. Her shoulders were back. "Doc," she said, "I smell like me again. Not roses, just me." And for the first time in months, that was enough. Now let's turn our attention to something seemingly harmless: the bath towel. Elaine, a retired schoolteacher of 80, was the picture of neatness. Crisp collars, tidy shoes, her purse always organized. She proudly told me, "I use my towel for a week. It's just drying me off after I shower. It's clean, right?" On the surface, her logic made sense. If your body is clean, the towel must be clean too. But towels do more than dry. They absorb moisture, dead skin cells, sebum, and bacteria. And when left hanging in a warm, damp bathroom, they become microbial playgrounds. Bacteria like Staphylococcus aureus, E. coli, and mold spores thrive in these conditions. Even after a single use, a towel retains microscopic skin debris and moisture. After 2 or 3 days, especially if not fully dried, the bacterial load can multiply dramatically. Elaine began to notice an odd thing. Her skin was itchy, especially her back and shoulders. Her clothes didn't smell fresh even right after a shower. She changed soaps, adjusted her detergent, even bought new loofahs. Nothing helped. It was the towel. I explained the microbiology to her. Skin is our largest organ and also our most exposed. After showering, if we press a bacteria-laden towel against clean skin, we're reintroducing pathogens, especially in areas with small cuts or dry patches. The solution? Wash towels every 3 uses. If you live in a humid climate, wash after every 2. Towels should be hung wide and flat, not bunched on a hook, so they can dry completely. And if possible, dry them in the sun. UV light naturally kills many surface bacteria. Elaine was shocked but willing to try. She bought 2 extra towels and began rotating them. She even invested in a small towel warmer with UV sterilizer. A month later, she smiled at me during her follow-up visit. My skin feels like silk. And my bathroom smells fresher too. Next, let's look at an area we all ignore until there's a problem: our feet. Angela was a 67-year-old ballroom dancer with a delightful energy and an unfortunate foot odor. She was mortified. My shoes stink, she confessed, even when I don't sweat much. I've tried sprays, powders, even put them in the freezer. Nothing works. As soon as she said, freezer, I knew this was serious. But the problem wasn't her shoes, it was what was going into them. Feet, despite being covered in skin, are biologically unique. They have more sweat glands than any other body part. Combined with socks and closed shoes, this creates a warm, moist environment, ideal for Brevibacterium, the bacteria responsible for foot odor. And here's where aging comes in. Skin turnover slows with age. The natural shedding of dead skin, called desquamation, becomes less efficient. So dead skin accumulates, especially on the soles, heels, and between toes. This provides an even richer medium for bacteria. Angela admitted she didn't scrub her feet. I thought the shower water running down would clean them. Unfortunately, that's like expecting rain to clean your windows. Possible, but insufficient. I taught her a new routine. During each shower, she had to use a soft washcloth with a gentle soap to scrub her feet, top, bottom, and especially between the toes. Once a week, she was to use a pumice stone on the heels and sides of her feet. After every wash, she had to dry thoroughly, paying attention to moisture between the toes. Why is drying so critical? Because many cases of foot odor or fungal infections begin when moisture gets trapped in skin folds. Fungi like trichophyton, responsible for athlete's foot, thrive in moist areas. I also recommended antifungal foot powder on warm days or when dancing. She followed the plan religiously. A few weeks later, she walked into my office beaming. I can wear sandals again without being embarrassed. My dance partner even noticed. We often think that cleanliness means scrubbing harder or using more product. But true hygiene comes from understanding the body's needs and working with it, not against it. The stories of Judith, Elaine, and Angela aren't isolated. They reflect a broader truth. Many older women were taught outdated or misleading hygiene practices, ones that don't align with what science tells us today. In fact, most of these habits stem not from neglect, but from misguided overcare. The women I meet are thoughtful, intentional, and fiercely independent. They want to feel fresh, clean, and confident, but they often don't realize their habits are sabotaging them. That's why education, not shame, is the key. When we talk openly, when we replace guilt with guidance, change becomes possible. I've had patients cry with relief after discovering they didn't have an infection. They just needed to switch their detergent. I've seen women regain intimacy in their relationships after resolving odor or discomfort. And most importantly, I've seen self-confidence return. Because when your body feels clean, not from perfumes or chemicals, but from genuine balance, you carry yourself differently. You sleep better. You socialize more. You wear lighter clothes without fear. You dance barefoot at weddings. And that, to me, is hygiene in its highest form. Not just surface level, but soul deep. when I first came across the studies detailing what happens during the toilet flush. Even I was taken aback. As someone who has spent decades in clinical practice and medical research, I've grown accustomed to unpleasant facts. But this one was truly unexpected. Flushing the toilet with the lid open isn't just unsanitary, it's a biological hazard. What actually happens during that 1-second motion is the release of what we call a toilet plume. This is not an abstract idea. It refers to a real, measurable cloud of microscopic aerosolized droplets that blast into the air every time a toilet is flushed. These particles are composed of water droplets. Yes, but they carry much more than that. They're often laced with pathogens like E. coli, norovirus, and even small traces of fecal matter. They may also include chemical residues from toilet bowl cleaners and fresheners. And here's the disturbing part: they don't fall harmlessly to the ground. Instead, they linger in the air. Studies using high-speed imaging and laser particle counters have shown these droplets can rise up to 6 feet and remain suspended for several minutes to several hours depending on air circulation. Now, picture your typical bathroom setup. The toothbrush is stored on the sink counter. Your face towel is folded neatly nearby. You probably keep your skincare items, floss, and maybe even your contact lenses on that same surface. Every flush, especially one without the lid down, creates an invisible cloud of particles that can settle directly onto these personal items. To be more precise, these microdroplets are small enough to infiltrate fabric fibers, settle on bristles, and contaminate hard surfaces, even if you clean your bathroom regularly. This doesn't prevent what happens immediately after each flush. In fact, some of the most sanitized-looking bathrooms I've seen have tested positive for bacterial colonies on exposed surfaces, simply due to habitual open-lid flushing. This becomes even more critical for older adults or those with compromised immune systems. Consider patients who suffer from recurring urinary tract infections or chronic sinusitis. They often search for dietary or behavioral causes, but overlook environmental exposures. When bacteria settle on a toothbrush and are introduced back into the mouth twice daily, or land on a towel used for facial drying, reinfection becomes a legitimate concern. It's no longer just a matter of bad luck or seasonal illness. It's a matter of preventable contamination. Fortunately, the fix is incredibly simple and doesn't require any expensive equipment. Start by making it a strict habit to always close the lid before flushing. This simple action reduces the vertical lift of particles by more than 80%. Based on studies from the American Journal of Infection Control. In tandem, store your toothbrush in a closed cabinet or inside a covered container. The same goes for any skin or oral care products. Surfaces like sink edges and toilet tops should be wiped down with a disinfectant weekly. I recommend using a bleach-based wipe or a solution with at least 70% alcohol. Ventilation matters too. Install or regularly clean your exhaust fan. Even something as modest as opening a window for 15 minutes a day can drastically reduce airborne microbial load. One of my longtime patients, Norma, had been dealing with recurring staph-related skin infections. She was meticulous, used antibacterial soap, laundered her linens weekly, and had no pets. When we ran environmental swabs, the highest bacterial concentration came from, you guessed it, her bathroom counter. After reviewing her routine, we discovered she flushed with the lid open every time. Her toothbrush, makeup brushes, and face lotion were all stored near the toilet. We adjusted her routine, educated her on microbe behavior, and in 3 months, she experienced a complete turnaround. It wasn't magic, it was microbiology. Now, let's shift from the bathroom environment to something even more intimate, your underwear. Specifically, the habit of wearing the same pair from morning until night, including to bed. This topic is surprisingly common in my consultations, especially among women over 60. Take Martha, for example, a warm and practical grandmother who once said to me with a chuckle, "I didn't do anything today except knit. My underwear's fine till morning." Right? On the surface, it seems logical. You didn't sweat profusely or exercise. Why change? But the human body doesn't simply pause its functions because we're resting. We continue to produce sweat, natural oils, and various discharges throughout the day, even in states of relaxation. By the time evening rolls around, your underwear, especially if it's synthetic, is no longer fresh. It becomes a warm, humid zone ideal for microbial growth. Let's look at what this means biologically. Bacteria such as Corynebacterium, which are common on the skin, break down sweat and produce odor. Yeasts like Candida albicans thrive in moist environments, particularly in tight-fitting clothing. If you're wearing the same pair for over 16 hours, you're essentially allowing moisture and bacteria to marinate against the skin. Add to that the friction of movement throughout the day, and you have the perfect setup for irritation, redness, or even fungal infections. Moreover, many women, especially postmenopausal, experience changes in the vaginal flora. Estrogen levels decline, leading to thinner skin and a more alkaline pH. This makes the area more sensitive and less protected against irritants or pathogens. Sleeping in unclean underwear exacerbates this vulnerability. The best solution here isn't radical. Change into a fresh, breathable pair before bed. Even better, switch to cotton or bamboo fabrics. Both are naturally breathable and moisture-wicking. If you're comfortable, sleeping without underwear allows the skin to breathe fully and reduces friction. It also promotes better airflow and lowers skin temperature, both of which decrease bacterial activity. I often recommend my patients divide their drawer into two sections, daywear and sleepwear. That small psychological distinction makes the habit more intuitive. For those worried about laundry, remind yourself, underwear is small. Adding 2 or 3 pairs per week to your laundry load won't break your machine or your back. Since making this change, Martha noticed not only improved comfort but also better sleep. She said to me, "It's like giving my skin a break at night. I wake up feeling fresher." And she was right. Skin that isn't trapped in damp fabric for 8 hours regenerates more effectively. We aren't just talking about hygiene, we're talking about recovery. Night is when the body heals. Let it do so without bacterial interference. Now let's address a hygiene blind spot that hides in plain sight: your bathroom trash bin. It's easy to overlook because it feels clean enough. But this small container can undermine your hygiene efforts in surprising ways. I once visited the home of Dolores, a fastidious 75-year-old with a home that could be featured in a lifestyle magazine. Her countertops sparkled. Her towels smelled like eucalyptus. Yet, every time I visited her guest bathroom, I picked up a faint, sour odor. We went through every possible source: shower curtain, drain pipes, cleaning products. Eventually, I asked, "Do you ever clean your trash bin?" She looked puzzled. "I just change the liner when it's full." Here's the issue. Even with a liner, small tears or condensation allow fluids to seep into the base of the bin. Used tissues, dental floss, feminine hygiene products, and wet wipes, all common waste items, carry small amounts of organic matter and moisture. This creates a dark, warm, enclosed space that becomes ideal for anaerobic bacteria and mold. Over time, the inside surface becomes coated with invisible biofilm. This biofilm not only smells but also releases volatile compounds that can settle into soft surfaces nearby, like towels, bath mats, and even skin. So what should be done? First, change your mindset. The trash bin is not a dry place. Treat it as a moist zone, like a sink or shower base. Empty it every 2 to 3 days even if it's not full. Weekly, take it outside, rinse it with hot water, and clean it using either a vinegar solution or a disinfectant spray. Let it dry fully in sunlight if possible. Additionally, sprinkle a thin layer of baking soda at the bottom of the bin before inserting a new liner. This absorbs both moisture and odor. Another great tip is placing a dryer sheet or activated charcoal pouch inside the bin before sealing it. Dolores followed these steps. 1 month later, she called me laughing. "My daughter came over and said my bathroom smells like a spa." Can you believe a trash bin made that much difference? Yes, I can. And I've seen this play out time and again. Patients suffering from mysterious body odor, only to realize it wasn't their skin, it was the room they were in. A damp trash bin can elevate humidity in a small bathroom by 5 to 10%. That affects every surface. It's not about being obsessive, it's about being informed. Every object in your environment either supports your hygiene or works against it. The bin, humble as it is, deserves your attention. Imagine stepping out of a long, hot shower. Your pores are open, your muscles relaxed, and there's that satisfying sense of freshness only warm water can bring. You reach for your robe, fluffy, familiar, a cocoon of comfort. It hugs your body like an old friend. But stop for a moment. When was the last time you actually washed that robe? It's a question most people can't answer right away. Many of my patients, like Cynthia, assume that since they only wear the robe after getting clean, the robe stays clean too. Cynthia, a recently retired nurse, confessed that she wore her bathrobe for several weeks before washing it. I figured I only put it on after showering, so it's not dirty, she told me. This belief is understandable, but it's also misleading. Just because you're clean when you put something on doesn't mean it stays clean. After a hot shower, your skin is damp. That moisture doesn't evaporate immediately, it transfers to whatever you wrap around your body. That includes towels, pajamas, and yes, your bathrobe. And that robe, especially if it's made from thick, absorbent material like fleece or terry cloth, soaks up more than just water. It captures traces of body oils, sweat, and skin cells that naturally shed post-shower. Now, consider what happens next. That damp fabric is often hung back on a hook inside a warm, poorly ventilated bathroom. The moisture doesn't fully dry. Day after day, this cycle continues, moisture added, never fully removed. Over time, the robe becomes a breeding ground for bacteria, mildew, and even mold. You may not see it, but you can certainly smell it. That faint sour scent you've been noticing? It's not your soap, it's your robe talking back. From a microbiological perspective, the robe behaves like a sponge. It traps warmth, holds onto moisture, and fosters the perfect conditions for microbial growth. Bacteria like Micrococcus, Staphylococcus, and various species of mold such as Aspergillus and Penicillium thrive in these environments. They break down proteins and oils left behind from the skin, producing odor as a byproduct. When you wrap that robe around your clean body, those odors cling to your skin, often making you smell not so fresh even moments after showering. More importantly, repeated contact with contaminated fabric can lead to skin issues, especially for those with sensitive skin, eczema, or weakened immune systems. Older adults often have thinner skin, which is more prone to irritation. A robe that hasn't been washed in weeks could very well be the cause of unexplained itching or redness. The solution isn't complex. Start by washing your robe at least once a week. If you shower daily and use your robe daily, then weekly washing is the minimum. Use hot water, a fragrance-free detergent, and make sure it dries completely before the next use. Don't just drape it on a hook in a steamy bathroom. Hang it in a place with airflow. Better yet, rotate between two robes. This allows each one to fully dry and gives you a fresh option mid-week. Cynthia made the switch to a lightweight cotton robe and began a Sunday wash routine. A few weeks later, she told me she felt more refreshed after each shower. It's such a small change, she said, but it made a bigger difference than any soap I've tried. Her experience isn't rare. When we focus on the big things, like which body wash to buy or which lotion to use, we often forget that small habits have the biggest impacts. Freshness doesn't come from fragrance. It comes from cleanliness, and cleanliness comes from consistency. Now, let's talk about an overlooked detail in personal hygiene. What happens after you shave your underarms? Most people assume that once the hair is gone, the job is done. Brenda, age 68, was a perfect example. She complained of body odor that returned just hours after shaving. I shave every other day, she told me, but by the afternoon, I feel like I never did. When I asked her about her post-shave routine, she looked puzzled. I just rinse off and put on deodorant again. Here's what most people don't realize. Shaving isn't just hair removal. It's also a form of exfoliation. The razor scrapes off layers of dead skin, leftover deodorant, bacteria, and other debris. This process loosens all those particles, but it doesn't eliminate them. If you don't take an extra moment to properly clean the area, all that gunk settles back into your pores, or sits on the surface of your freshly shaved skin. As the day goes on, these remnants begin to ferment, producing odor. The underarm area is particularly sensitive to these effects. It's a naturally warm, moist environment. It contains apocrine sweat glands, which release a thicker form of sweat that bacteria love to feed on. This combination of warmth, moisture, And organic material is why your underarms are one of the first places odor develops. To address this, you need to modify your routine slightly. After shaving, don't just rinse, cleanse. Use a soft, damp washcloth with warm water and gently wipe the area. You don't need harsh soaps. And in fact, heavily perfumed products may irritate freshly shaved skin. Stick to fragrance-free, pH-balanced cleansers if needed. Once you've cleansed, pat the area dry with a clean towel. Allow a few minutes of air exposure before applying deodorant. This small pause gives the skin time to calm down and reduces the likelihood of irritation. If you're prone to redness or sensitivity, choose alcohol-free, baking soda-free deodorants. These are gentler on the skin and still provide effective odor control. When Brenda began following this advice, her results were almost immediate. "I finally feel in control of my body again," she said during a follow-up. Her confidence improved, and she no longer avoided social events out of fear that she might smell. This might seem like an overly detailed solution to a simple issue, but it's exactly these details that separate good hygiene from great hygiene. Shaving is a disruption, and like any disruption, it must be followed by care. Think of it like pruning a plant. After cutting, you clear the trimmings, water the soil, and allow it time to adjust. Your skin deserves the same attention. Over the years, I've treated thousands of patients, women of all ages, backgrounds, and experiences, but a pattern has always emerged. So many of the issues they bring to me, irritation, odor, rashes, infections, stem not from negligence, but from misinformation or overlooked habits. These women, Judith, Elaine, Angela, Dolores, Cynthia, Brenda, are not unclean. They are diligent, loving, self-aware women who simply needed new tools. And that's what I aim to give. Tools. Not judgment. Because aging is not about loss. It's about refinement. The body becomes more sensitive. Yes. But it also becomes wiser. More attuned to what helps and what harms. I tell my patients this often. Your body isn't trying to betray you. It's asking you to listen more closely. And when you respond, not with fear, but with understanding, you begin to feel empowered. So if you've ever felt embarrassed by a scent you couldn't identify, or discomfort you couldn't trace, don't blame yourself. Don't rush to mask it with perfume or scrub it with soap. Pause. Investigate. Ask your body, what are you trying to tell me? The answers are often simple, but their effects are profound. And if you're wondering whether these small habit changes can really make a difference, let me tell you with certainty, yes. Profoundly so. Because freshness isn't about what you cover up, it's about what you allow to breathe. It's not about how many products you use, but how intentionally you use them. And most importantly, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. So here's my final prescription. Give yourself grace, not guilt. Start small. Trust your body's wisdom, it knows how to protect you. And never be afraid to ask questions, especially the ones that feel too personal. Because nothing about your body is shameful. It is worthy, it is strong, and it deserves care that matches its brilliance. So there you have it. 8 small shifts in your daily routine, each one with the power to change how you feel, how you smell, and how confidently you move through the world. If this feels like a lot, please remember, you are not the problem. These habits weren't born from laziness, they came from love, from routine, from wanting to care for your body the best way you knew how. Now, you just have better information. And with that comes better outcomes. As a doctor, I've treated thousands of women over the years. And time after time, I've seen one truth rise above the rest. When a woman feels fresh, she stands taller, she speaks louder, she reclaims her space. You deserve that. And it starts with something as simple as closing the toilet lid, changing your towel, or saying yes to fresh cotton underwear before bed. You don't need a $100 serum or a new perfume. You need to trust your body's wisdom and give it what it actually needs. If this video helped you, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend, a sister, or someone who deserves to feel just as good in their skin. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and join the senior mental health community. We talk about the things no one else dares to, and we do it with science, honesty, and a whole lot of heart. This is Dr. James. Stay well, stay wise, and never stop listening to your body. See you in the next one.